Welcome back to another episode. Today we're discussing about the 10K a day frequency, which is, by the way, something that you can apply to any amount, but this is just the amount we're going to be discussing today, because that used to be a goal of mine and I wanted to do it my own way, because a lot of times when you talk to people that are really stuck within the 3D and the physical material world, they assume that having an income of 10 grand a day or more is usually related to some hard work or more responsibilities, more stress, less time to focus on passions or whatever. So I'm just going to give the steps on how I did it. So the first thing to understand is that when it comes to manifestation, manifesting $1 a day or 10 grand is the same thing when it comes to the frequency of it. Now, the reason why there aren't many people that are generating that type of income is because the resistance when it comes to creating that reality is usually the issue. A lot of people put some amounts of dollars on a pedestal and they just have subconscious beliefs about how hard it is, and that's it, because they think it's hard, because they think something bad is going to happen if they do have that. Or actually, when I talk with other entrepreneurs or providers, sugar daddies, sometimes I love to have those conversations with them, because they usually have the same belief, which is that generating income is very easy. But they also have a financial thermostat. So, for example, I was talking with this particular sugar daddy, and that's like the amount he was making a day with his business, so 10 grand. But he was working really hard, like 12 plus hours a day, right? So that was, again, his subconscious beliefs about that. But he was so used to it because this is something he was doing for the past like 20 years. So he's very established, and he's so used to like doing the same thing. And I told him at some point, I was like, how about you make like 30 grand a day? Would that be something, cool? Like where do you see yourself in like 5 years? And he basically told me that he was actually happy with 10 grand a day, because he said that beyond that number, he thought that he would just have more stress and more responsibilities. And that, so it just basically blocked him, because he didn't even wanted to explore any other possibilities about, earning more. And it's not because he couldn't make more. He just basically blocked himself. Like, that was like his financial thermostat. That was like the highest level. And that's it. Like, his brain after that was like, oh my God, I just saw, by the way, like 6 bats, like Batman, like fly. I've never seen those. Like, I'm so confused. Like 6 of them. Anyway, sorry, that was so random. It's a sign. It's probably Lilith. So that was his limit. And I thought it was interesting, because at that point when I was talking to him, I haven't made 10 grand a day. So for me, I was like, oh my God, that's actually my goal. But I didn't want to make it his way, because I don't like working. I don't want to work. and it's the age of Aquarius. Like, we don't have to work. And so I was like, you know what? Let me find a way to reprogram my subconscious belief, my subconscious mind, to think that making 10 grand a day is very easy. It's very fun. And I do it while I sleep. And it took me less than 21 days. I basically made my own subliminals, and I also listen, by the way, to my own subliminals as well here on this channel, but I made myself this specific one to generate 10 grand a day in a very fun and easy way. And I thought it was interesting because through that process of 21 days, I went through some crazy stuff, like just some crazy experiences, good and bad. And so this is basically the process of manifestation. So obviously the first thing is to decide something, right? You're like, okay, so that's my next goal, but I wanted to do it my way. So the first thing you want to do is not talk to anybody about it, because if you talk to someone, they might have other beliefs about that. They might discourage you a lot of times, especially if it's someone that is, I would say, some people just don't want to evolve. They don't want to grow. Like, obviously, if you tell them, like, hey, I want to do that, like, they're going to try to convince you to stay the old you, basically, because they're basically reflecting your ego. Because we are one, right? Everybody is us pushed out. When you're talking to someone, especially if it's triggering, it's usually because they're reflecting a part of you that is in your subconscious mind, which is why relationships are a huge catalyst to transformation, because it's like basically a mirror, which is why it's, sometimes a bit triggering. So like I said, the first thing you want to do is, keep it quiet. You have your goal. You want to use dark energy as usual, which is, the divine creation. There are many different ways to go about this. You can go in my specific episode about dark energy, because there are many different ways to use it. But just visualize. By visualizing and closing your eyes, already you're in darkness. So that's like one of the easiest way, fastest way. And so when you do that, you want to visualize yourself already having it, right? So you want to project yourself like in the future, basically, in that timeline. And you want to create it in a way that feels good to you, because it's very specific. It's very unique, because my idea of, making 10 grand a day might be different from your idea of making that amount of money. Or maybe you want more, or maybe you want less. Maybe you want it in a specific way. And so, yeah, the only thing though is that you cannot choose the how and the when. So you don't want to micromanage your manifestation and be like, by that specific date, it creates way too much resistance. And a lot of times we don't realize it, but our higher self has a bigger vision of our life. It has a higher perspective. So a lot of times we can be like so specific about something, but then something better is waiting for us like right around the corner. But because we're so focused on that, something specific. So another great way to do this manifestation is to actually ask an open question to your higher self, and be like, what else is there for me? What else is available for me? So instead, you're actually opening and expanding your consciousness and saying that question, because maybe there's something you haven't even thought about, that is even better for you. So that's another way to do it. And of course, when you're going through the process of reprogramming your subconscious mind, because you're expanding your consciousness, you might get these scenarios or events or 3D circumstances, however you want to call them, where you basically experience the opposite, or it's like trying to prepare your frequency. So let's say you're asking for this new amount of money, then what's going to happen is that you might get an unexpected bill. Every time you get triggered by the 3D, you have to regulate your nervous system on the spot, like right away. You cannot wait. Because a lot of times people don't realize it, but they get addicted to that adrenaline rush of stress and anxiety. And I know it doesn't make sense, because it's like, why would someone be addicted to that? Like, it doesn't feel good. I know, but most addictions, by the way, are not good. Like, they're not good for your body. So it has nothing to do with, is it good or bad for your body? It's more like, It's a chemical addiction, right? It's like you're getting that hit, that rush of adrenaline. So you want to reprogram not just your subconscious mind, but also your body. Like, you don't want your body to have this like hit of adrenaline every time and to get addicted to it, because then it's going to ask for more of it. And especially like if you don't like a 3D circumstance, the last thing you want to do is react to it, because if you react to it, you make it even more real and you get stuck in that timeline. So what you want to do is you want to say out loud, I don't care. And I know like sometimes it's like hard because you're like, I do care. But no, you have to practice. You have to say, I don't care. But not just that phrase, you also have to work with your body and regulate it right away. You might want to go take a walk, go for a swim. You might start humming. For some people, like long, deep breath is also good. It depends. You have to test like what works for you. Sometimes it really depends as well on this specific context or what's happening. Sometimes to like shake it off, because sometimes when we're too much in, overthinking mode or human mode, ego mode, what happens is that when we sit down and we try to like chill, it actually gets worse, because it's like you can almost hear your thoughts even more. So you have to like, test different things and see, okay, what would feel best right now. Or maybe you can try something and then be like, no, let me try something else that's not working. So if sitting down doesn't work and it just amplifies the anxiety, then shaking it, like twerking, shaking, like when you start like moving your body, you're actually moving the stagnant energy. Going for a walk as well, putting your feet on the grass, like connecting with, Mother Nature. These are just different examples. You want to avoid any substances, obviously, because that's how people get addicted. They usually have this like big hit of like adrenaline or cortisol. And it just triggers some childhood trauma subconsciously, and they just want to numb everything. So they use substances, and this is how people get stuck within that loop of addiction, which is really hard to get out of. But addiction it's the same frequency. Like an addiction to anxiety is the same as an addiction to a drug. It's like in your body, it's the same thing. An addiction to sugar is the same thing as an addiction to illicit substances, so you just have to really work with your body, do somatic exercises, as a woman, like stretching your hips as well, rocking your body, like soothing your body as if you were like a baby, so like rocking yourself and like patting your shoulders. I don't know how to explain it because like I can show you, but yeah, like focusing on soothing yourself and be like, it's okay, like I'm safe, I'm good, we're good, okay? That's another way to regulate your nervous system. So it's a process. So while you're doing that, you're also expanding your consciousness, and you're actually creating that new timeline where having 10 grand a day, because that's the example of today, is going to be very easy. And to the point where when you're going to get it, and I'm telling you, like, and obviously that can be applied to anything, like any amount, anything you want to manifest. Once you get it, it's almost like you have this epiphany where you're like, oh my God, it's been here all along. It was just waiting for me. Like it's been here forever. I couldn't see it. That's what it is. I couldn't not see it because I was focused on something else, or I was focused on doubting myself, or focused on other people's manifestations or whatever, other people's dreams. And it's like, oh my God, I could have done that like 5 years ago, but here I am. But it's okay. It's like an epiphany where we're like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, I'm so powerful. Like it's been here all along. And I just had to like step into it, like grab it by the balls and just like own it, and that's what it is. This is what it means to be in command of your reality. You're the one choosing and deciding what is real and what is not. And of course, when you vocalize it to someone else, it might trigger their demons, it might trigger their own personal resistance. They might get jealous as well, but this is all subconscious. They might not even know they're doing it, and this is why a lot of times when people share their dreams to other people or their aspirations, people try to discourage them, because energetically it's as if you're talking, because like I said, connections and human relationships are like mirrors. So it's basically like you looking at yourself in the mirror and looking at an older version of yourself, right? A version that was either unconscious or more insecure, right? And let's say you're looking at yourself in the mirror, but you're talking to that fragment, you're talking to that version of yourself that is stuck in the past, right? Especially if you're like talking to a friend that you've known for like a long time, they probably reflect back to you that old version of you. So let's say you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you start to say, oh my God, I want to make 10 grand a day, like while I sleep. That would be so freaking amazing. I would have so much more freedom and I would just feel more powerful. Just in general, I would just have I would have a lot more to give to people. I would feel better. I would eat better. I would travel more, like whatever, And you're looking at that version of you in the mirror. What would they say? They would probably look at you and be like, you're delusional. Like, who do you think you are? Like, oh, really? 10 grand a day while you're sleeping? Like that version of you is not going to believe you. They're going to be like, you're absolutely insane. So when you're talking to a friend that you've known for like 10 years, they're just reflecting that fragment back to you. And it's usually triggering. And the worst thing to do is to argue with them, because then you get stuck within that. It's just a waste of energy, a waste of time. It's literally, the conversation goes nowhere. And it can actually slow you down because it can create subconscious doubts too. So it's best to just shut up, all right? Don't tell anyone. And I know it's hard, especially when you start winning. Like when you start winning, I remember I had to program myself, my conscious mind, my ego, to shut up, to not talk to to pretend I was still broke. Like sometimes I would just ask for $20 here and there, even though I made, by the way, 10 grand the night before when I was sleeping. I would just ask $20 just to give some people, the illusion that I was broke, because, and this is something you can learn within the book, The 48 Laws of Powers, to pretend that you're less than, and to pretend that someone is above you, but it's an illusion. You're not. You're probably even smarter than that person. But by giving them this illusion that, oh, they're more financially well off than you, they're smarter than you, whatever, it makes them put their guard down. They don't, insult you. And that's why when people start to get really famous and successful, or just successful in general, their family, not everybody obviously, but a lot of people, their own family, their own blood turns their back to them. Or suddenly they're leeches. They're give me all your money, and you're wait a minute, so it's best, as much as you can. Obviously sometimes it's hard to hide, but there are many ways to lie about it. I'm gonna make, by the way, an episode specifically about that, because this is great for women that are quote unquote independent and self-sufficient. If you want to attract providers, men with this very masculine mentality, you have to refrain from talking about your money, talking about your achievements. That's super freaking masculine. And I know it's hard sometimes because society is built this way. So it's it's a paradox. It's well, I have to survive in society, I have to play with the rules, but at the same time I get shamed if I play too well. What? But I'm just going to give one specific example to end this episode. So one example could be okay, let's say you get yourself this luxury car, right? And then obviously if you start dating, masculine men might get weirded out. They might be like, oh, well, she already has the freaking dream car. Like, what does she need me for, you know? But he does not get a point, you know? The point is that, you know, he's the divine masculine. He should pay for the bills anyway. That's just your car. But you can lie and say that it's either your mom's car, your roommate's car. You can say that it was gifted from your ex, which is so freaking powerful when you think about it. Like, this is like deep psychology, because men are naturally very competitive. And so if you tell a man that this was a gift from your ex, naturally, like subconsciously, he will feel in competition, and he will feel the need to give you something better and like more expensive. That's just how it is. Like, don't ask me how. I'm not a man. I wouldn't know, but that's just how it is. And obviously you have to find the right target, because if you're talking to a guy that makes like 6-figure a year and you're like, yeah, my ex, you know, gave me a Porsche, like obviously he's going to be intimidated, because he's going to be like, wait a minute, I can't top that. Like, I'm not going to be able to give her more. But if you're talking to a multimillionaire or a billionaire and you're like, yeah, my ex gave me a Porsche, like, it's just going to be normal for him to like give you something better, like within the first weeks or months of, you know, dating you, without you asking. But anyway, I'm gonna have a specific episode about that. But obviously I'm talking about money here because I don't show my face. I don't show who I am, so it's fine, nobody knows. But yeah, like, I would never make content on social media with my face, my identity, and so like anyone can Google me and basically see like how much money I make. Like, no, because that would like attract all the super dusty, super feminine, super weak men that are looking for a sugar mama or women to like build themselves with, or whatever the fuck they're looking for. But, you know, I wish them good luck, but, you know, it's not going to be me. So that's it for today's episode. Let me know if you have any questions, if you want me to go into more details about the process of manifesting. And of course, you have to check out my playlist with subliminals. There's a bunch of them. You can just pick a specific goal and stick to it for 28 days, 21, 28 days, 90 days if it's something that you have a lot of resistance with. And yeah, that's it for today's episode, and I'll see you tomorrow.